For some people, the whole month of April and the first 2 weeks of May were nothing but another month and a half of school. But to me, it was its own self-proclaimed season and the month and a half stretch in that I thought the world was going to end. In other words, it was AP test season. Ask any of my friends, and they would say that I was unrecognizable, a fully different person. I'd stress myself out to the point where I would study until I fell over, I could fall asleep anywhere, and I was unable to focus. While this situation made me a great photo prop for my friends, internally, I was falling apart. My mind was racing and all the little voices were screaming so loud. It was never quiet. I could feel my attitude toward everything getting worse and worse, and I didn't know what to do because my brain would not stop me from self-deteriorating. Sadly, this mentality is a norm for many students struggling with the standards of academic excellence that they feel they have to live up to. This is not healthy. Regardless of how old you are, where you are from, or even if you're a student, you've 100% felt overwhelmed or stressed out about what you have had to do or accomplish in the past. Anyways, right in the middle of this dreadful season, my family decided to take a trip to Colorado to do my favorite thing ever, ski. Now, I've been skiing for my entire life, since I was 3 years old to be exact. So when I heard this news, I was ecstatic, and I thought this will fix me. While this thought was just a little bit extreme, I wasn't totally wrong. Within 2 hours of arriving to Eagle Airport in Vail, Colorado, I was already clipped into my skis and trekking my way over to my favorite run, Ricky's Ridge. The second that I got on the chairlift, it was a full-on blizzard around me. I mean, flakes were coming from every direction, and I could barely see 2 chairs in front. It was awesome. I mean, what could have been better? As I made it to the top of the lift, I realized that a blizzard may seem super scary to some people, but it was where I found my peace. I had one of those moments where I looked around and I could just not believe the beauty that I was witnessing around me. The big, fat, fluffy white snowflakes were falling ever so perfectly on my pink coat and gray gloves. As I turned and began to fly down the run, I realized everything was so quiet around me. Aside from the sound of my helmet slightly shaking back and forth and the sound of my breath, everything else was silent. For the first time in a couple weeks, it felt like I had time to think, like I was at peace. There were no textbook notes staring me down, no multiple choice practice, and certainly no Schoology alerts flooding my phone. It felt like the run Ricky's Ridge was my own little paradise. And interestingly enough, this calming silence that I was experiencing that day was actually no coincidence. As snow falls, the flakes fall spaced apart. And even though this isn't visible to the human eye, as snowflakes fall spaced apart, the spaces in between the flakes absorb up to 60% of sound within an environment. The pitch of snow falling itself is even too high for humans to hear. And if you're sitting there thinking that I'm crazy because you have 100% heard the sound of snow falling, I'm sad to say that researchers have found that you are probably hearing either your breath, your heartbeat, or the wind, because it is physically impossible to hear snow falling. The Japanese actually have a name for this silence or absence of sound when it snows. They call it shin-shin. The word shin means silence or absence of sound. As snow blankets an environment, sounds such as dogs barking, car horns, or the hum of a car engine all dissipate, bouncing off of the snow. To humans, when we're immersed in an environment like this, it's a form of silent meditation. Silent meditation, simply the practice of being alone in silence with your thoughts, can aid us in decreasing risk levels for mental illness, such as anxiety and depression. To humans, it is only when we choose to be in a truly silent environment that we realize how much more we can hear. Silence forces us to look inwards and to be with our thoughts. This is difficult, and I know that. There are sometimes thoughts that we just don't want to face, but this is why practice is so important. In fact, Buddhists have been practicing this for over 2,000 years, only they've called it unguided meditation. They've found that not only can this type of meditation decrease risk levels for mental illness, but it can also increase levels of happiness, kindness, and well-being. But why not just make it silent in your house? Why is it so important to make it silent, to be in a silent environment outside, preferably in the snow? This answer is so simple. It's because being outside is an amazing way to immerse yourself in both beauty and silence. It is proven that people who are more connected to nature have higher levels of concentration in many different areas. In the society we live in today, it is normalized to pack our days with so much stuff, making it impossible to find time to be alone with ourselves. I won't go too into depth about this issue because we would be here all night and I know no one wants that. But what I will say is that it is super sad to know that a study done by Yale University in 2017 found that 50% of Americans spend 5 hours or less outside per week. We need to spend time outside connecting with nature almost as much as we need to connect with ourselves. Not to mention the physical benefits of being outside. Being outside can increase production of a neurotransmitter, norepinephrine. Norepinephrine, upon transmission, can reduce levels of stress within a human. And it could also make a person more happy, more calm, and relaxed. Snow also connects individuals. I want you all to picture that you're in a school classroom. Maybe it's the first snow of the year. This is a universal experience of everyone in this classroom rushing to the windows regardless of what the teacher is teaching. The second your entire class makes it to the windows, everyone starts talking and laughing, and regardless about what group you're in that moment, everyone is in one giant community. This is natural as humans to want to share positive experiences with others, especially our peers. Snow is no exception. Whether you're in a classroom, looking out the window, maybe building an igloo with your best friend on a snow day, or even just drinking hot cocoa with your dad after a long ski day. Any of these activities that are even slightly associated with the snow and being outside connect us. And no, I'm not saying to go outside the next time it's snowing and try to sit outside and soak in all of the positive benefits, because that would be kind of miserable because you would be totally distracted. What I am saying is the next time it's snowing, to go outside without distraction, maybe leave your phone inside, and just to be alone with your thoughts in silence. And I can guarantee you that you will find a newfound happiness in doing that. In the world we live in today, where stress is inevitable and silence is taboo, now more than ever, we need to find time to be alone with ourselves and our thoughts in nature, away from distraction. Thank you.